One of the more overlooked career paths in welding is becoming a Boilermaker. So what exactly is a Boilermaker? Welcome to WELD, where each week we explore different pathways in the welding industry. I'm your host, Beau Wigington, and after attending the National Boilermaker Apprenticeship Championships last year in Georgia, one thing became very clear. Boilermakers are a little bit of everything. You need to understand rigging, welding, cutting, fabrication, and you need to be comfortable working in some tight spaces. Sometimes that means cutting your way in and welding your way out. And that's exactly what we dive into right now. Do you want to introduce yourself to the audience just in case they're not familiar with you and what you do?
Yeah, my name is Mark Wirtz. I'm a Boilermaker out of Local 169 Detroit. Originally, I'm still a card-carrying member there, a dues-paid member. But since about 10 years ago, I took a job with the Boilermakers National Apprenticeship Program. So I kind of cover the entire country. My office is in Kansas City, but mostly I travel more. I get to my office probably every 6 weeks. But when I'm not doing that, I'm on the road, recruiting, training, doing classes, and getting the apprenticeship kind of where it needs to be, I guess.
So as far as like recruiting efforts, like what kind of places are you going to try to find people?
Normally, we try to get in the high school level. We really try to get these kids that don't have the opportunity for college or don't have the means for college or just don't have any interest in it, but they really want to work with their hands. They want to really, have that tuition-free education we offer. We preach that, this world needs both. You need college educated, but you need the blue-collar type and the union skilled workers, and that's what we go after. And that's the message I always send. You can make a really good living at this. You don't have to be in debt. And it's something that, for us, it's almost like it's a 4-year program. So at the same time, they're still going to school. They're still doing lessons. They're still coming to class, but they're working at the same time and they're making money. And there's a kid I just went to his wedding last weekend, and he was an apprentice. I got him back in Michigan, and he invited me to the wedding. And he's like 23 years old. He's got a house. He works all the time, and he loves it. And before then, his dad was kind of pushing him to go to school, but not so much that he was upset with him he didn't go to school, but he got a hold of me through probably through like a website or something. And he called me, and I went to his school, talked to him, talked to the teacher, talked to the other kids, and he came up to me afterwards, and he really showed a lot of interest in it, and he just did really, really good. And that was really nice to see him like come full circle.
Yeah,
where he's married now and is just a really great wedding. And he's a super cool kid, and I think it turned his life around for him a little bit. Not that he was in trouble, but we always say that too. It's not just it's almost like a generational. We like to think we're changing a generation, that family.
Yeah.
Especially kids in the inner city or kids that, just don't really have the money for anything. And maybe the kids that were in school that, they weren't really good at grade, good at school, or, they didn't really take interest, and they weren't really shown a lot of, I don't know how to say it. Maybe like the counselors just figured that he's just going to go to McDonald's somewhere
look over
or whatever. Yeah. And I might be one that, not me or any of the Boilermakers that go out. We might be the first ones telling him and putting our hand on his shoulder going, listen, you can have a good life here.
Yeah.
You can make it. And you're going to do very well, but you got to work hard. You got to show up on time. And once they get that in their head and someone takes interest in them and they come with us and they come to our training centers and we show them a little tough love sometimes, you got to be on time. We don't tolerate that. And then once they get those small habits down, they're good to go. And then they go to work, and then they're part of a team, maybe for the first time in their life. Everybody around them is pulling for it's really good.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, and so like in candidates, in new apprentices, like what are you looking for? What qualities are you looking for?
A majority of our work is weld. Okay. And we'd love to have someone that has some basic background welding skills. But there's a lot more to Boilermakers, like you saw this week, than just welding.
There's a lot.
Right? There's a lot. So, and it's funny, sometimes a kid will come in, or a young individual, and they'll have some welding background, and they realize there's more to it, like rigging. They might really love the rigging part, and they might get their papers or welding papers and certifications, but then they love to be in the rigging game the whole time. They might not weld again on the job site. So you kind of find your niche, and certain people that really find everything, like the kids this week that were here, you can see they were skilled in almost everything they did. They really were. And those are the ones that are going to go out. They're going to be the future leaders of our organization. That they're very well-rounded. So that's our goal, graduate apprentice, is have them so well-rounded he can do almost anything on the job site, and then let them take it from there.
Yeah.
That's where they want to go.
Let them find their path.
Let them find their path, exactly. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome, man. Well, if anyone has any more questions about recruiting or things like that, how do they reach out?
Well, we have a website, bnap.com. And on that site is my contact information. It also has information about all the locals in the country. If you go on there, contact us tab that drops down, you can probably find a local in your state, because we cover all the states. And then you can contact the hall for more information. A lot of times I recommend this. If you take that approach and you take that step to go on the website, and then you find the local you're interested in or where you live, call them, reach out to them. I think you can notice this week, they're all
everyone's pretty
welcoming.
open.
We're very welcoming. And we really, really like the people that take that initiative to come down to the hall. A lot of times, like in the southern area, a lot of these locals allow you to come in and weld and see what, show us what you got. And at that point, if a guy's already coming in on his own time, then that's someone who we're looking for. Someone who's going to take that extra initiative and, do whatever he can to get in. And that's what we want to see.
All right. So be persistent, show up, right attitude, be on time.
Absolutely. Every time.
And find your niche, man.
That's it. That's all it is. It's very simple. I tell these kids, if you show up on time and work hard and do what you're told, you're going to be an all-star at this thing. You really are. You just are. You're going to move up. And like I told you earlier when we were talking, there is no seniority in us. So and I've seen it 100 times. If a kid graduates the apprenticeship, he's got 4 years in the apprenticeship and he's worked hard, he's focused, he'll be running work and he'll be a foreman, which means more money, a pay raise on top of what you're already getting paid. So that's, and we welcome that. We want that. We want younger kids running work. We want to take on responsibility and grow with us. That's what we want to do.
I hope we can help get the word out, help you in some recruiting efforts, but I've been blown away. Like,
I appreciate it.
I feel like I understand what a Boilermaker is now. So hopefully everyone else out there will.
Well, thank you for coming.
We wouldn't have been able to do it without your invitation. So thanks again.
Thank you. All right.
Trey Powell. I'm a Boilermaker out of Local 26 here in Statesboro, Georgia.
And Trey, how did you get connected to the Boilermakers in the first place?
I went to Southeastern Technical Welding School, and the instructor we had, he was a Boilermaker, and he introduced me to him, helped me get in, got me where I could pass welding test. And I went down there to the hall they used to be in Savannah back in the day.
And you've been in it. We were talking earlier. You've been in it for a minute now.
Yeah, I think 15 years.
And so when you meet people that ask you, a lot of people, they don't know what a Boilermaker is. So when someone asks you, what is a Boilermaker? What do you tell them?
I tell them we're a diverse trade. There's no not one specific skill that we do. You got to know a little bit of it all. Welding, everybody thinks it's mostly welding. That's probably about 10 to 15% of the trade is welding. There's a lot that goes into it as far as rigging and layout, planning, whether or not where you're going to set the tuggers, or where you're going to set the crane up at, where you're going to put your lay down yard at, stuff like that.
As a tugger, like you were telling me, sometimes you have these, you're pulling them like up all the way up to like the 14th floor, like in through the 4th floor. Why would you want to use that over just chain pawls and stuff?
It just saves time, saves your back, shoulders and arms. But no, there's some spots when we get in these powerhouses, you don't have room to set up cranes and stuff like that. That's the diversity of the trade. You find a way to do it, make it happen.
How long are you typically on a job?
I've been on jobs that your average blow up, something like that. It might be 2 12-hour shifts sometime. I go in there, be there 2 days, go in there and set up. The first day, they bring the boiler down, then you have another crew come in there, actually make the weld, to repair it, something like that, and then you're packing out the next day. We've been in there where some of them where they had to blow out. You have to cut 3 or 4 tubes that are good tubes out the way to be able to get back there to the one you got to repair. Then you got to make sure every one of them shoots X-ray on the way out.
People don't really think about it, but that's super intricate. Like if you're going to cut out one of those that has a leak, like it's more than just cutting out a pipe. Like you got to rebuild it pretty much. And it's very impressive what we've been able to see you guys do here. But seems like a lot of rework that you got to do when you go to do work a lot of the time.
A lot of that.
What's your advice to people about joining the Boilermakers?
Just look up Boilermakers or BNAP, Boilermaker National Apprenticeship. like that. And they have a thing where you can log in there and you can get on a waiting list now versus back when I come in, you had to go up there and talk to somebody in person.
Yeah, they had to like vouch for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. I mean, because I've been asking people like, what's the application process? And they're like, one button, just push that button and it'll take care of it, you know?
Push that button and open up all kind of opportunities and doors for you.
If becoming a Boilermaker is something you're interested in, coming in with some knowledge already under your belt can make a huge difference. That's where our friends over at the American Welding program come in. They offer online courses like Intro to Rigging that can help you stand out early, especially if you're thinking about an apprenticeship. And because you are watching or listening to the podcast right now, you can save 20% on any course with the code WELD20 when you head on over to AmericanWeldingProgram.org. Now, let's get back to the show.
My name is Joseph Asulo. I'm a union Boilermaker at a local 26 here in Savannah, Georgia. I am the lead instructor here at this hall, which means I teach the apprenticeship classes.
So when you are teaching people like fresh off the street, like this is a big misconception, I think, about unions. Do I need to have experience to try to apply at the union?
No. If you have a GED or a high school diploma, we'll take you. That's all you need.
And what's the application process like? If I was like, I come to you and I'm like, hey, I want to be a Boilermaker, what are the first steps?
Well, first of all, you wouldn't even need to come to me because everything's online. The main Boilermaker website, when you open it, there's a big button, apply now. Any of the regional websites, doesn't matter what part of the country you're in, they have their own, and they all have applications for the apprenticeship program. And it's nothing but a form. Requires you to send in on an email, GED, high school diploma, and that's really the only thing required of you.
And then I get into the Boilermakers and you are my instructor. Okay, what does my first year look like?
It differs from place to place. Sometimes you'll work before you even go to your first class. In other places, they want you to go to class first. Really just learning the trade, right? When you show up there, a lot of people don't even know what they're going to be getting into, right? We like to try to teach people and tell people, this is what to expect, things like heights, working around heavy machinery, tight spaces and everything. But you don't really understand until you get the job, see how it's done for you to really grasp what's going on, right? And so that first year is all about acclimation, getting used to the work, getting used to the field and understanding these plants and places that you work. Also in that first year, we usually try to explain to you how, a union works, right?
Yeah.
Because that's important. If you're in a union, you ought to know, when you pay dues, why you pay dues, how to pay dues. Big thing, of course. But also what we do for you and the differences working non-union versus union. And if you are a welder, we like to see what you can do, right? You came out of school, oh, I have this plate certificate. Oh, I have this tube. I have this pipe certificate. We like to see what you're capable of to know where to go from there in terms of weld training, right? Also, any past job experience, because we do have a lot of people who did, like I did siding and roofing before I started this. A little bit of welding, but no real industrial work of any kind. So I knew how to read a tape measure. I knew how to use a grinder. I knew how to set up a welding machine. I thought I knew how to weld. And so it's kind of gauging what point you're at, because we really do get people who don't even know how to use a tape measure. We have people who don't know how to use a hammer. All of these tools that, once you've been in the trade for a while, it's just commonplace. We get people in fresh as you can get them.
You touched on welding. As a Boilermaker, what I've kind of come to see here is your majority is going to be stick and TIG. Is that what you start people off with? Are you starting on stick and then moving to TIG? Or like how is the progression of a weld training in the Boilermakers?
So we're going to go ahead as an example here. We're going to use someone who has never welded before. They've never set up a machine. They've never put a hood on. The way that we would start you out is with a piece of plate sitting on a table with stick welding. That's how we're going to start. We're going to pad weld. We're going to try to first get you to run a bead, make it look nice and consistent. And once you can make a bead look halfway decent, that's when you're going to start trying to stack them on top of each other. Learn how to stack beads.
Toe to crown.
Exactly. And once you have that down packed flat, you're going to move horizontal. And from horizontal, you're going to go vertical and then overhead. And from there, if you're progressing,
we're going to get you on a piece of plate, beveled backing bar, and we're going to teach you how to put roots in. We're going to teach you how to fit the plate up, how to clean the plate up right, you know? Once you're through those plate tests, once you're able to pass all 3 positions, vertical, horizontal, overhead, then that's when we'll start getting into, we'll usually do MIG next, right? We like to cover our structural basis first. So, and that is yet again, 3 position plate test with MIG. You know how to set the test up and you know how to stack feeds. So usually maybe a day or 2 on plate, like a flat padded plate, just to kind of get a feel for how that MIG gun works, because it really is a lot different. But if you know how to stack beads and you know how to set the plate test, it isn't hard to make the transition.
Yeah.
So you go there into flux core. That's all your structural done. Then we'll get into TIG. And there's a few different ways that people do teach the TIG starting out. Some people want to see, we'll always usually just start, yet again, flat plate, get used to how that TIG rig works, right? Knowing what's going to happen if, you're long arcing it a bit, getting too close, what adding wires like, feeling for the heat. And then from there, there's two different ways we'll usually do it. Either we'll do open root plates, beveled plates, or we'll just stick you right onto a tube and see if we can put a root in, right? Because there's the really teaching you how to weld, and there's the teaching you how to put roots in. Because just because you could put a good root in doesn't even mean you're a very good TIG welder, right? So it kind of depends on what we need at the time, how bad you want your certifications, and just what we got going on at that point. But if you're training for it, we will always eventually get to TIGging all the way out, freehanding, walking. We try to teach it all because there's certain spots where freehanding's better. There's certain spots where walking is better. And so we try to cover all of our bases there.
Oh, okay. So for this competition here, so what is the purpose of this? Like, I think it's super cool that you have the best apprentices from around the country coming here to compete in pretty essential skills to be a Boilermaker. But like, where did this event come from?
I mean, they have more than one purpose, but I think overall the intended purpose is to kind of show what we got, right? This is what we have. This is the future that we have to look forward to, because these people are apprentices. Yeah. And they're demonstrating that, hey, our programs work.
How long is the apprenticeship for?
So the apprenticeship lasts 4 years. You're required to meet some standards along with it just being 4 years, right? You have shop classes that you have to go to. You have to make sure you're making time in the field. There's on-the-job trainings. There's online schoolwork. And it averages out about 4 years.
So for people out there, like a big goal of ours being here is trying to explain what a Boilermaker is. But like, we've shown all these different skills and everything. But if someone is like apprehensive of joining the Boilermakers, what's your advice?
Some people call Boilermakers laborers that can weld and rig. And I would agree with that statement, just because we really do work. We're not just welders, and we're not just riggers. We're not just fitters. There's times where you're doing nothing but manual labor. And so I really do, before I try to recruit anyone, I try to be entirely honest with them about the work scope, about how we do things, about what's going to be expected of them, because I would hate to drag in someone that I just feel like isn't a good fit. But if you feel like it's a good fit for you, it is a career. It's not a job. It's a career.
Well, I appreciate you for chatting with me. If people want to learn more information about the Boilermakers, where do you usually send them?
That main website, it can direct you pretty much anywhere you want.
Do you want to introduce yourself just in case people aren't familiar with you and what you do?
My name's Nathan Lloyd. I'm a Boilermaker out of Local 108. That's in Bessemer, Alabama.
You were tested all week long here. What do you think you excelled at in this competition?
I think what I did best on was probably our team event, and that would be the Dutchman on the waterwall panel. And that's just cutting out a section or two and replacing it.
And then on the waterwall, this is something that people might not know out there. Explain what that membrane is.
So the membrane, it helps create a seal inside of that boiler, so all the heat in that boiler stays inside and continues to heat the tube instead of leaking out.
And in the competition, you had to cut out not only the pipe, but you had to cut out the membrane and replace it. There was pretty involved.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Well, what do you think you would change about next time? Like, what skill were you like, man, I don't think I did that right?
I think I probably could have done here. We had to roll a tube, to simulate a fire tube boiler, and we had to cut it back out. And I think I probably could have practiced a little bit more on cutting it out. That's pretty intense and delicate.
I'd never heard of tube rolling before, and that's a Boilermaker exclusive, correct?
Yes, sir. Most of the time.
Well, that's awesome. So if people out there are thinking about being a Boilermaker, but they're not sure, what's your advice for them?
I'll tell them to definitely try it out. I think it's a very good trade, and there's all different facets of it too, because you could work in coal-fired power plants, nuclear power plants, paper mills. I mean, there's a bunch of different places to work, and there's work all over the country too.
Well, that's awesome, man.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
I appreciate you chatting with me. I know you're tired. You gave this competition your all, so thanks for chatting with me, man.
Yes, sir.
Thanks again for tuning in to another episode of WELD, and a huge thank you to everyone at the competition for welcoming us, letting us capture the action, and sitting down with us to share what exactly it is to be a Boilermaker. I want to give a huge congratulations to the Southeast team for taking home first place. If you want to learn more about becoming a Boilermaker, check out all the links down in the show notes. Also, huge shout out to the American Welding Program for helping make the show possible and supporting education around the many pathways available in the welding industry. Remember, you can use the code WELD20 to save 20% on any course you want to start learning today. If there's something that you want to see covered on a future episode, reach out to podcast@weld.com and I'll do my best to make it happen. Thanks to everyone out there listening, and make sure if you're not subscribed, you do so you don't miss out on a welding career you didn't even know existed. Until next time, see you out there.